Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. Got another Duxot watch for you today. And this is another automatic, gorgeous homage to, I think this is a homage, and forgive me if I'm wrong here, I think this is a homage to like a Rolex Presidential, I think, but they kind of do their own thing on this. So what do I love about Duxot watches, and why do I constantly reach out to get more added to my collection? So if you haven't realized this already, I'm kind of a flashy guy, right? Not all the time, but I definitely like watches with the bling. And so when it comes to watches with bling, one thing that I found that there's not a lot of brands out there that give you a high quality watch and those check boxes that I personally look for when buying a watch or collaborating on a watch. Well, let's face it, I'll collaborate on almost any watch, right? Any price point to share it on the channel, right? It's all part of the business. But when it comes to watches that I genuinely wear often, right, and rotate through my collection, you know, it has to have those check boxes. And we're going to talk about those like I always do, but I really like watches that have that bling. And if you look at men's watches out there that have bling, you either have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get something authentic, maybe a customized Rolex, maybe even a factory Rolex, or you're going to go with something like an Invicta where they make some awesome diamond watches. I think of all the watches available out there, I think if I really wanted a diamond watch that kind of fit that big, bold, flashy bill, I would most likely choose Invicta. I've said a lot of times my problem with Invicta is that you tend to pay a lot more for watches that are diamond. Naturally, you're going to, but you know, I have watches that I know that cost 150 bucks that if they just added the diamond bezel on them, they would cost $1,000. So to me, it's a little bit of a stretch because to me, it's still a $150 watch. But I have the wonderful opportunity to collaborate with Duxot and Dartmouth brands, and so I get to get these into my collection. I also really like watches that have a little bit of flash but are smaller as well. So a watch like this, we have a full cubic zirconian CZ bezel. And this watch just really does fit the bill for me. I love these Rolex Homage watches. I think they're very, you know, I know a lot of times this channel, and some folks may think that I don't like the Rolex brand. I just don't like the price of the Rolex brand. And I will never spend the money when you have watches like this, that you get all the check boxes for you and mainly for me at a fraction of the cost, right? And so what do you get with this? So I'm not the biggest rose gold fan, but you know, again, I'm collaborating with them, so I get to add these great watches to my collection. I still like to have some rose gold, but it's not like my go-to. I much prefer yellow gold or a two-tone rose and yellow. Hopefully, Duxot does something in a two-tone, but they haven't, at least in the yellow gold and rose tone. But that's generally my favorite color combination. The other thing, again, getting back to what kind of watches you can buy with ice, you can look at brands like Freeze Diamond Watches and Joe Gino, but what I found with a lot of those watches is you're really getting a watch that doesn't have the check boxes that I look for in a watch, and that a lot of you guys want, right? You know, a lot of times they're quartz watches, believe it or not, and there's nothing wrong with quartz, but when you're spending several $1,000s on a watch, I'm going to need to have an automatic, right? That's just kind of my preference. So what are we getting with this watch? One, we're getting that level of quality that I look for, and that is, you know, what is it made out of? What kind of movement's in the watch? Is it automatic? Is it quartz? What's the overall feel of the watch? What kind of crystal? Although that's not a huge one for me. And ultimately, what does it feel like in my hand and on wrist? And the Duxot brand is, I have a lot of Duxot watches in my collection now, and I gotta tell you, I think of all the watches under the Dartmouth label, I think Duxot it's up there for me, you know, because a lot of times, as much as I like the big, bold, very flashy watches, I love the themed watches, a lot of times I am wearing smaller watches more now than I used to, and I don't want you guys to take that too far. I'm not saying I don't rock the big Invictus still. I still do. I have a huge collection, and a lot of times, especially if I'm like at my desk working, or I'm just kind of like working my day job, I don't always wear the big watches doing that. It just depends on what you're going to be doing. I've had jobs in the past where the Invictus got a lot more wrist time because it was a type of job where I wasn't sitting at a desk, but I also wasn't, you know, being very physical, right? It just kind of depends on the situation. So, you know, I guess at the end of the day, I just really appreciate all these different brands, and they all get wrist time. And so again, getting back to the stones, there's not a lot of brands that you can get out there that give you this level of quality with the stones for a specific price. Watches, you know, if you go to like websites that are like a Hip Hop Bling and companies like that, they do sell iced out watches, but they're the typical really cheap, what I would consider inferior quality watches. Kind of like that argument they make where you compare something like this to that watch that I'm making. You know, they say that at Rolex and every other affordable watch brand. Just isn't the case. A lot of times when you buy a watch, number one checkbox, and this is going to be a real determining factor on overall how the watch feels, is what is it made out of? Is it 316 stainless steel or is it not, right? This is plated rose gold. I get other folks who are like, oh, how does the gold come up? Does it flake off? I don't think in my entire collection of watches, some of which were $50 watches, well over 20 years old, I've had any gold flaking off. I mean, so the quality of the plating nowadays is exceptional, and you're just not going to have that. People think like you're going to buy a gold-plated watch and it's going to start falling apart, and that's just not the case. These are very durable, very reliable plating techniques, and they look fantastic. So we have the 316 stainless steel. What do we have as far as movement? This has a Japanese automatic movement. I suspect this is a Miyota, although I don't have that information for you. I know I've said it many times. They need to start adding this to their websites. On a lot of their brands, they do have the automatics, but I can tell you that generally what Dartmouth uses in a lot of their watches, they're either going to use the Valjoux if it's a chronograph, they're either going to use the Miyotas, and in some cases, I think they've used the NH35. So it just depends, and I feel pretty confident this is probably a Miyota. But again, if it's a deal breaker for you, get a hold of me. I'll try to get you the information. So let's talk about just the specifications on this as well. We have a sapphire lens, right? That's the other checkbox I don't care about, but a lot of people do. Overall, in how a watch is built, the construction of a watch, those are really the only two things that really dictate what kind of feel the watch has and what kind of quality you're getting, right? Those are the big ones. What is it made out of and what is the crystal? And here we have sapphire and we have 316 stainless steel. Watches that cost $10,000 and sometimes are made of 316 stainless steel. So there isn't like a different 316 stainless steel. It's stainless steel. It's got the quality. It's the same. When we talk about fit and finishing, again, I mean, this is the modern age. Fit and finishing is referred to as how are the links finished. I mean, you can compare this to watches that cost $20,000. There's no special finishing technique. Mirror polishing is mirror polishing. It's either reflective or it is not, right? Brush finish, it's either brush or it is not. So this just has it. And for me, again, what I love about this is you have the CZs on the indices and you have them all around the bezel with these kind of smaller, kind of rectangular baguette stones. Absolutely stunning. Screw down case back. Mirror polish on the sides of the case, around the bezel. We have a Cyclops, and this has a meteorite dial. I don't know if this is genuine meteorite. It almost looks like it is, but I can't really confirm or deny that one way or the other. But I can tell you that from my experience at Meteor, it sure as heck looks like it. So it has that sheen to it. Whereas other watches I've reviewed that have a meteorite look, I don't think it's genuine meteorite. I think this one is. 170 grams in weight, 10 ATMs of water resistance. Again, 21 millimeter rose gold stainless steel case, a fold over clasp. This is kind of the standard clasp you see on a lot of Homage watches to Rolex. And I've said it many times, the clasp on the Duxots is very functional. I've had many clasps that look like this by other brands, and they're very difficult to get off. This is actually on sort of like a spring hinge here, and I can get under that without even my fingernail and pop that off with ease. They're put together really well. It is all milled. It is not a dive extension or any of the micro adjustments. This is kind of, it is what it is. Like, you can't adjust the bracelet. There is no levels of micro adjustment on this, but you can remove, I think I removed 5 links or 6 links on this, and you have, looks like room for 4 more. So I have a 7-inch wrist. You can probably get this down to like a 6.5. Again, these are applied indexes with CZ stones. Dial color is this grayish meteorite, 40 millimeter case diameter, 12 millimeters in case thickness. and it is absolutely a stunning watch. It looks great, and it's not, again, I have these in so many different variations because I like them so much. If you look at the picture on the Duxot website, and I'm going to, of course, throw that up here in the video, you've probably seen it already, it's not a good representation of what you're getting. In the picture, it makes the watch look like it's totally brushed. The reality of the matter is that the side links are brushed, and it's mirror polishing down the center of the case, the sides, and around the bezel. So you have a really nice contrast there. I think this watch just wouldn't look as great if it wasn't mirror polished down the sides. Just to kind of put it in perspective here, put it in a comparison, here's, in essence, the same watch done in pink, in stainless steel, but this is a different, obviously a different kind. This is more of like the, what I'd call like a, I don't know what you call that bezel. I always want to say like coin edged, but I'm sure it has a different name. But again, mirror polishing down the side, down the middle. Just a stunning piece. Without further ado, let's throw it on the wrist. I'll show you what it looks like on a 7-inch wrist. If you're looking for a high quality, Rolex Homage, I think it's a presidential Homage. Again, correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm not 100% sure. I don't really follow the Rolex brand all that much, but it's a great piece. And these watches, I give Rolex a hard time because of the price, but at the end of the day, they are an iconic brand. They do make an incredible watch, but that doesn't mean that the other watches that are Homage watches are not incredible as well, and for a fraction of the cost. I mean, as far as like the cosmetics, it's a basic watch, right? But what really makes this watch, what really sets it apart, why would you buy this over the many other, because everyone and their brother makes Homage watches, to the Submariner, to the Jubilee bracelet, to the Oyster bracelet. They make President watches. They make so many different homages to the Rolex brand in general. Why would you buy this? Well, I can tell you, it's hard to find watches that have this look with this quality with that iced out bezel, and so that's what really, I think, draws a person in to want to buy this specific brand, because you are going to pay a little more for this brand depending on when you catch it, what kind of sale they have, but it is really worth it. Now, as far as price, right now, this to me, I'll be real with you, $2,200, almost $2,300 is pretty steep for this watch, and I think this is absurd for this price. I have been trying to get Duxot to change their pricing, because if I'm being honest with you, if we compare this watch to the quality of, what do we got here? Here, Mr. Perez got me this not that long ago here, to a Citizen watch, right? This watch is like, what, $400 or $500, depending on when you got it and where you get it on sale. The overall quality is the same, right? We have that 316. We don't have anything that's really setting this apart. When we look at the Spinnaker watch here, or sorry, this is another Duxot. I have a Spinnaker here. Compare this to the Spinnaker. This watch is definitely not $2,200. I think this is in the $300 to $400 price range. And the quality of these watches, it's identical. Like, there is no reason to buy one over the other based on quality. They both have threaded case backs. They both, this one does have a unidirectional rotating bezel, but they're just different. They have different finishes. The quality is on par. And this is kind of what I talk about when it comes to most brands. Most brands you're going to look at, all the way up to Rolex, the quality is almost on par. And when we talk about quality, where you have brands like luxury brands up here like Rolex, and then brands over here to like your $40 range, there's a big difference in quality, right? But when we're looking at watches like this kind of quality, we have Rolex up here, and here's the quality of these watches right here. They have the quality, it's there. They just may not have the attention to detail in the movement. It doesn't mean that the movement isn't almost as accurate, right? It just means when you pop the back, it may not be finished as nice as a Rolex. They might do things a little bit more robust in the Rolex. But again, that doesn't mean that this watch is going to fail in a year. That doesn't mean that this watch is going to last you a lifetime. That's just not the case. So again, a watch like this, realistic price is in that $300 to $400 price range, just like the Spinnaker. So keep watching, check back through my link. I do have a coupon code in the description, but I don't recommend you pay $2,300 for this watch. I honestly don't recommend you pay $2,300 for any watch, right? I mean, I have my $2,000 Aqua Dive. That watch is no better quality than these watches. So what are you paying for? You're paying for a brand who is able to produce a watch at a certain price point and convince people that it's worth that. And it's really not. It's worth what you're willing to pay. It's worth what makes you happy. And if for you to have an Aqua Dive, or even this watch, if you love this watch so much that you don't mind paying $2,300 for a $300 watch, then by all means you should buy it, right? If you're rolling like that, no big deal. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the quality, I want you guys to understand about the quality. Sometimes we don't always buy things based on value. We buy things based on what we desire. And so if it's worth it for you to own this for that price, then it's worth it for you. But if quality is your main reason for buying a watch, there are thousands of brands out there that you can get quality for $99. So it really comes down to what you're looking for, what your budget's like, and what ultimately is going to make you want to wear the watch. So great looking watch. I will try to put links to where this watch might be on sale. I've seen watches like this on sale in the $250 price range. You just got to catch them from the right sellers. And again, I am trying to get Duxot to start selling direct to consumer. These sites do sell to consumer, but at prices of $2,300, they're not really selling these watches to consumers. These are kind of inflated MSRPs that, yeah, you might have a stupid person buy one, but I don't like when companies do this, and I've been very clear with Duxot and many brands that imagine somebody who went and bought this and gets it and pays $2,300 and says, oh, I'm so happy, I love it, it's a great watch, the quality's there, I'm very happy, and then they see that like it goes on sale for like 75% off, or they catch it somewhere else. They're gonna feel burned by that, and that's not, you want your customer to come back and buy a second color and buy a third color and spread the word about the value and the quality of the watch. So I'll do my best to get them to try to manipulate their prices. They did start doing a little bit on the RGMT site. Nubeo, still super high, but then they have a lot of sales. But they need to do that with these other sites too. And I will try to get them to do that. Or give me a Fat Cat Collections 80% off coupon code or something like that, where we can start selling direct to consumer. But until then, enjoy the videos. Let me know if I can help. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.